What's up? What's up? We're watching MrBallen. I'll figure out some type of intro at some point. All right.
A young man living in Honduras made his way to the local cemetery to found his wife's
You just look
gravesite.
very tired. It's because I am. Nice car. It's the lighting. Here, let me fix it. There. See, look. Now I look less dead, chat. It was because the lights were off. Okay? Sorry, tired equals high. Sorry we don't make the rules. Fair enough.
And he leaned up against it and he quietly began to cry. Seconds later, something would happen inside of that cemetery that would not only cause—
Yo, Ballin got a new camera. Look at that high quality right here. Look at this. You can see all the dude. It's kind of hot.
The young man to go silent, get up, and start running. But it would also be caught on camera. But before we get into—
Is MrBallen high right now?
If you're a fan of—
Bro, why are we dropping $50 donos? We just started. What is happening?
The strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right place because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's—
Who's we? Who's we? Nice car. Tell me your secrets.
To you, please invite the like button to come to the zoo with you, and then cover them in honey and push them into the bear enclosure.
Shouldn't it be called grinding then? No, chat. Okay. Shut up, you stupid Dumbo. Okay.
In the spring of 2021.
I genuinely forgot what I was going to say to that person, so I just told him to shut up. I hope that's okay. Shut up.
52-year-old Texas resident Karen Davis got married, and then after the ceremony and after the honeymoon, she went through the process of changing her last name from Davis to McBride to match her husband's last name. After the change was done, the last step was to get a new driver's license with the new name on it. So Karen emailed the local DMV, or Department of Motor Vehicles, to set up a time for her to come in and make the change to her license. But after she sent that email, the local DMV immediately emailed Karen back, and they told her that they could not help her with this request until she resolved an issue. Now, they didn't specify what this issue was. However, they very cryptically said it had something to do with the state of Oklahoma. And then at the bottom of the email, there was just a phone number they told her she needed to call in order to resolve this issue. And so Karen's thinking, okay, that's pretty weird, but I did used to live in Oklahoma, so that probably has something to do with it. And so, not thinking much of it, she punched this number the DMV had given her into her phone, and then she let it ring. A few moments later, much to Karen's shock, a woman from the Norman—
I just realized her name is Karen. Get it? Her name's Karen. Like from the movie Karen?
Oklahoma District Attorney's Office picked up the phone and said, "How can I help you?" Karen immediately assumed that the DMV must have made a mistake, that maybe they were trying to give Karen some other number in Oklahoma because this was an Oklahoma problem.
Thank you, Itachi Girl 101 for the $10. Jeepers Creepers, a case of Victor Salva. Yeah, I watched that already. Thank you so much, though, for the 10. I appreciate it.
And they had mistakenly given her the number to the DA's office. But since she had this woman on the phone, Karen told her, you know, hey, I was just trying to get a new license in Texas. They told me there was some sort of issue. It had to do with me potentially living in Oklahoma. I don't know what it is, but this is the number they gave me. So I'm sure it's a mistake, but that's why I'm calling. The woman from the DA's office had no idea who Karen was. But after taking down Karen's information and looking on her computer, she discovered Karen's so-called Oklahoma problem. And after she explained to Karen what this enormous problem was, Karen literally couldn't believe it. But after this woman went over the details a few more times and really showed Karen that this Oklahoma problem was very, very real, suddenly everything in Karen's life made sense. For the last 22 years, Karen, who was incredibly smart and friendly and polite and never had a problem with anyone, had an incredibly hard time getting a job. Even jobs that she was extremely qualified for, she would get turned down for someone who was way less qualified. And then, in the rare times that Karen did actually get hired, she would always get fired for no reason. And so Karen never understood why she was being treated this way until now. It would turn out 22 years earlier, which is when Karen's hireability issues began, she lived in Norman, Oklahoma, which is where the DA's office was that she would end up calling 22
So I'm assuming she must have been using someone else's identity for 20 years.
Years later. And when she was living in Norman, she lived with a roommate. And this roommate was this nice young man who had a couple of young kids. And one weekend, he went to the local movie store called Movie Place, and he rented the...
Called Movie Place? Dude, what kind of movies? Dude, dumbest name ever.
Hit 90s movie, Sabrina the Teenage Witch, to watch with his kids. And after he was done watching this movie, he didn't return the VHS tape of Sabrina the Teenage Witch back to Movie Place.
What?
Now, normally...
Dude, I always return to my movies. I never forgot about them and lost them. Never. Everyone returns their movies, right, guys? Right? Everybody.
When this happened, the movie store would just hit the card holder with lots of late fees, which was actually great for the movie store. They made lots and lots of money on individual people that just forgot to return their movies. And if the card holder just continued to hold on to this delinquent movie, at some point the movie store would just hit them with a final fee that basically accounted for the total cost of the VHS tape that they had effectively stolen. And then at that point, the matter was resolved. The card holder owned the VHS tape, whether they knew it or not, and the movie store simply moved on. But in this case, Movie Place in Norman, Oklahoma didn't think that was enough. And when Sabrina the Teenage Witch was not returned in a timely fashion, they pressed charges against the card holder.
What? Are you joking? Why? Why? That's so stupid. Cassandra, thank you so much for the $10. So excited to catch the stream. And Ballin' ones are my favorite. My BF has been in the hospital for 6 weeks and gets out today. He's watching too. Hi, Gabe. What a happy, awesome day. Well, that's awesome. Thank you so much for the 10. I appreciate that. I'm glad your BF is finally eating out. I don't know what he's in, but I hope he's all right. Thank you, Cloud, for the 2. For a movie that costs less than $10, dude, I don't fucking get it, man. Dude, back then they were so anal about movies. Thank God we had LimeWire. Lamau. Nice. Just kidding. I never used LimeWire. I always bought my movies.
And the card holder was Karen Davis. The roommate had just borrowed her card. And somehow, these charges against Karen were never brought up to Karen. She was never contacted by anyone. And so for 22 years, she was technically a wanted felon, meaning...
What? Over a movie? Over a rental movie?
Every time one of her employers, either during the interview process or after she was hired, when they would run a criminal background check on her, it would pop up she was wanted for felony embezzlement. And so this was the reason she kept not getting jobs and kept getting fired from jobs. Since discovering these charges, Karen worked with the Norman, Oklahoma DA's office and got these charges dismissed.
What the fuck? That's so stupid. Okay, actually, while we're on a movie store and how dumb they are, let me tell you guys the story about how I was applying for a job at a Family Video. And a Family Video is basically just a Blockbuster, if you guys don't know. I don't know if it's like specifically Midwestern or not. But Family Video is just a movie rental place. And I applied there. And you want to know how utterly, like, this is a $9 an hour job. This ain't, you know, like a crate. You don't get paid a lot. It's not like you need to be super qualified. But it was the freaking application process was ridiculous. I had to take a test. I legitimately had to take like a 5 or 6 page test, like I was in school, about my knowledge of movies. Yo, Itachi girl, thank you so much for becoming a pooper. I appreciate that. I went in there, dude, and you want to know what's worse? Before I went into get like my whatever interview, I was dripped out of my mind. Like I had you know, basically like a suit, sort of like a suit. Because you know they're very formal in there for some fucking reason. Further interruption, Leviathan, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate that. But my friend stupidly got me high, but it was like a couple hours before I went there. But anyway, I didn't smell like weed or anything, just preemptively before you guys say that. But I went in there, I took this dumbass test that took probably an hour. No joke, the test took an hour. And then the interview was so like stressful because they were just like, okay, how much do you know about movies? And I was like, you know, I like movies. You know, I watch them a lot. I rent movies here all the time. I go to the movie theaters. It's like, okay, what are your favorite movies? And then I tell them, and then you know, I keep you know, being interviewed. I love movies. Movies are they're my passion. I love them so much. You know, that whole shit to get employed. And then they're like, name one movie in the theaters right now. I'm like, I don't know. It's like, you can't name one movie in the theaters? And they were like pissed off with me. I'm like, I don't know. I haven't looked at the theaters in a while. I have no idea. And then literally that was the reason I didn't get the job. That was legit. I had to take a fucking hour-long test. I had to go through this grueling interview process. And the reason I didn't get the job is because I didn't know a movie that was in theaters right now. It's so dumb. It's so dumb, dude. No wonder fucking... I mean, there's a lot of reasons why rental places went down. But no wonder that place went down.
You know what really makes me want to slap the like button with a tasseled wobble gong? Inflation! Prices are going through the roof right now, which is why I'm excited to partner with Current again. So thank you to Current for sponsoring.
I got sponsored by Current. Good sponsor.
Today's video. Also, stick around to the end of this sponsored segment because I'm going to be sharing the
I got hired at an open interview.
You all sent me a
Chat, I've had so many jobs in my life. I've had so many interviews.
Current is the mobile banking app that,
unlike
boring old banks, they actually help you take control of your money, which is more crucial than ever right now.
I'm confused. What did he say?
Just like the like button, they just charge you fees and slow you down. But with Current, there are no monthly fees, and the app is super easy to use.
I don't remember.
While other banks
slapped in the face with
nothing on your savings, with Current, you can earn over 40 times the national average. Because of the strain inflation is having on all of us, Current and I are giving away $2,500 to you all. For a chance to win part of the $2,500 giveaway, all you have to do is click the link down below, download Current, and then use my code BALLEN250. And now here are the top 5 like button gags we received. My favorite was from Regina. Please invite the like button to the zoo with you, and then cover them in honey, and then accidentally push them into the bear enclosure. Okay, back to the stories.
Don't you skip his sponsor segments? You know what? Let me tell you why I'm not going to do that anymore. A streamer, one of my viewers brought it to my attention that there was a streamer watching one of my videos. And he made a very good point. Because I went over to his stream and I subbed to him and stuff because he was watching my video. So I wanted to support him for being nice. But what he did, he not only watched my sponsor section, but he had ads on, and he watched every single ad in my video. And he made a good point. He's like, if I'm going to watch these people's content, like, how is it fair that I don't at least watch their sponsor? You know? Like, if I am consuming their content and using their content for my own content and my own gain, I feel like it's only fair for me to give them the support. And that made me feel so good. I'm like, holy shit, this guy's awesome. I'm going to start watching the sponsors now. He's an absolute Chad. I forget his Twitch name. I need to go find it. Or wait. Wasn't it here? Yeah, his Twitch name is Noblet of You. I think he does like Mario stuff. But he was watching one of my iceberg videos. It was pretty cool.
In the early evening hours of December 24th, 2011, so Christmas Eve, 26-year-old Zazel Preston sat on her bed in her little apartment in Anaheim,
Zazel. Now that's a cool name. Zazel.
California, and wrapped Christmas gifts for her children. Laying next to her was her newest addition to the family, her third child, a 7-week-old little boy. This Christmas was a big deal for Zazel. It was also a big deal for her husband, 30-year-old William Wallace, not only because it was going to be the first Christmas with their new son, but also because this was the first Christmas after Zazel and William had reconciled their relationship. They had been married for the past 3 years, but over those 3 years, their relationship had been very unhealthy and toxic and at times abusive. But earlier that year, when Zazel had discovered that she was pregnant, this baby became kind of like a new anchor point for their relationship. It was like suddenly they could put their differences aside and just focus on raising their kids together.
Lamau. Don't you guys love when people think that babies solve relationship issues? Why does that happen so much? Chat, spoiler alert. Having a baby with someone who you have relationship issues with does not solve your relationship issues. Sorry, I had to say it because that happens all the time.
After wrapping her final present, Zazel hopped off the bed, she scooped up her little boy, and then she headed out into the living room where she met up with her husband and her 2 older children, who were little girls aged 3 and 8, and then they all headed outside and went next door to celebrate Christmas Eve at a party with their neighbors. Early the next morning, so on Christmas Day, Zazel's 2 oldest children, the 2 girls, they got up early and they rushed out of their bedrooms and they ran down the hallway into the living room where their parents were waiting for them on the couch along with their baby brother. The living room was completely decked out with Christmas decorations that the family had put up over the past couple of weeks. The Christmas tree was in the corner with bright multicolored lights and ornaments.
Also, marriage will solve relationship problems, bruh. Yeah, that's also a thing. People rush into marriages because they think that that will solve their problems.
All over it. There were wreaths on the wall and other string lights around the top of the room.
Thank you for the
and
5 skater
over their
hippie.
fireplace were all of their stockings nailed up, stuffed with goodies. The little girls squealed with delight and ran around the couch and took up spots right underneath the Christmas tree, and they grabbed their first present and they turned and looked at their parents on the couch, and they saw their dad kind of give them a nod of approval, which meant okay.
1 second. Hey, Pig just got accepted to a game design college. Thought I'd spread the love to my favorite variety YouTuber. Can't give me much because, you know, U.S. tuition. But yeah, what the hell? Congratulations. That's sick. A game design college? That's fucking awesome. Yeah, Amy, you could come down and pet Shadow.
Okay, you can start opening your gifts. And so the girls happily begin tearing into the festive wrapping, and then after each of them had their brand new toy in hand, they turned around reflexively to show their parents. And so William, he sees the toys and he says, "Oh, they're so great, guys." And then when the girls, they look at their mother and they show her the toys, she doesn't even react. She completely ignores them. And so at some point, you know, these little kids, they start yelling for their mom, "Hey mom, check it out, look at this new toy." But Zazel just sits there. She doesn't say a word, she just sits.
She's dead. She's dead, isn't she?
Sitting back on the couch, completely ignoring them. Finally, the 8-year-old turns to William and says, "What's wrong with mommy?" And at this point, William pauses, and then he gives Zazel a scathing look before very bluntly saying to these young kids, "Mommy got drunk, and now she's ruined Christmas." The girls knew from William's tone of voice that their parents must be fighting, and so they did what they normally did when this happened, and that was to just try to ignore it. And so the little girls, they turned away from their parents and began opening more presents, doing their best not to disturb their parents, who were sitting silently behind them. And then, a little after 9 a.m., after most of the presents had been opened, William abruptly...
He's either dead or being held hostage by him.
...stood up and walked walked into the other room and placed a phone call. And then a few minutes later, there was a loud knock on the front door. The night before, after Zazelle and William and their kids had left their neighbor's party and come back to their apartment, Zazelle and William had gotten into a vicious fight. And by the time the kids had all gone to bed, the fight between the parents had become very physical. Neighbors would recall late at night on Christmas Eve hearing this very loud commotion coming from Zazelle and William's apartment. And at some point, apparently Zazelle had tried to run out of the apartment, but William had chased after her and hauled her back inside. The sounds coming from their apartment
thank you for becoming a member.
Somewhere in the wee hours of Christmas Day. And then as the sun came up on Christmas Day, Zazelle and William had made their way to the couch, and they were sitting there with their 7-week-old baby, waiting for their two oldest to wake up and come open presents. Except when their two little girls came out of their bedrooms and bombed into the living room to begin celebrating, only William was alive. Zazelle had been beaten to—
I told you, chat. I told you she was dead. I knew it. I knew it.
To death by William. And after he had beaten her to death the night
Babies solve relationship issues, chat. Remember that. Babies solve relationship issues.
before, he had dragged her into the living room, set her up on the couch to make it look like she was sitting, and then put sunglasses on her eyes in order to trick the children. And so all morning, as this 3-year-old and 8-year-old are opening these gifts and turning and showing their mother with excitement, she was dead the whole time. But at around 9 a.m., William realized his charade was not going to last because his kids were really keyed in to there being something wrong with their mother. And so that was when he got up and he called 911, and he told them that his wife had gotten drunk and fallen into a glass coffee table, and so she was hurt. And so a little bit later,
Lamau, she's just hurt, quote unquote. Why do people even get married? Because they want to be with someone the rest of their life and want something to symbolize that they're going to stay with that person the rest of their life. Whereas other people use marriage as like a way of forcing someone into a commitment or trying to fix a problem that they can't fix. I just can't believe people get into physical fights. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I'm married, and it's actually because I want to show people that I am committed to my wife the rest of my life. Whereas other people don't see it that way. You know what I mean? By the way, there's no religious underlyings of the whole marriage thing for me. It has nothing to do with the religion. I did force Amy. She didn't want to get married. I forced her. Marriage is pointless. It all depends per person. I feel like marriage is pointless if you don't care about the symbolism behind it. Yeah. Weddings are pointless. That's what I would say that. I would say weddings are pointless. I wouldn't say marriages are pointless because tax breaks, just government shit, like honestly, taxes in general. Marriage is good for a lot of things. But weddings, yeah, fuck weddings. Weddings are the spawn of Satan, and no one should ever have a wedding. But yeah, chat, if you know you're gonna be with someone the rest of their life, you don't have to get married. But like marriage is just like a good symbolic thing, I guess. But you know, to each their own. It doesn't really matter if you do or if you don't. Exactly. Marriage only means something if you put meaning into it. To be fair, chat, I didn't really ever want to get married necessarily. Like it wasn't on the top of my list of things to do, you know, until I found Amy. And then I'm like, yeah, I want to get married. You can have sex if you are married. Chat, if you get married to have sex, I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. That sucks, bro. That sucks for you.
Police and paramedics, they arrive, they go inside, and right away they can tell William is lying to them. There's more to this story than they're being told. And so ultimately, William would be convicted of second-degree murder, and he would be sentenced to 15 years to life in prison. As for Zazelle's 3 children, they are now being looked after by her parents.
God, that's so fucked up, man. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Pretty much.
In August of 2015,
All depends on what you want to do.
16-year-old Nacy Perez suddenly woke up in the middle of the night. As she lay there scanning around the dark, tiny room that she was in, it dawned on her that the most likely reason she had just woken up is because she really needed to use the bathroom. And so she climbed out of her bed and she began carefully walking across the room where her other relatives were sleeping on the floor as she moved towards the back of the house. Nacy lived in a town called La Entrada, which is located in one of the poorest and most dangerous countries in the world, Honduras.
Why is there just a building that's... Why? What? This is confusing. It's just a gigantic... It's just the whole building is just painted in a Pepsi logo. Big business, Lamau.
Honduras. But despite the harshness of her reality, Nacy was pretty happy. She had recently married...
Sells pot 40 years, murders wife 15 years. Dude, that's America.
The boy she was in love with. His name was Rudy, and the two of them were
Wait,
both
it's
very
actually like a
excited
it's
about
actually
their
like a
first
Pepsi
child,
building,
which was due in a matter of months. So Nacy
like they
reached
work there?
the back of her house. She pushed
That's where the
open
Pepsi
back
man
door,
lives?
and she stepped out into the hot night air, and then she made the familiar walk across her backyard toward the outhouse. But Nacy would never reach the outhouse. The next morning, Nacy's mother woke up first. Her name was Maria, and as she passed by the back door, she looked outside and she saw Nacy lying on the ground. And so Maria, she screams, she runs outside to her daughter, and she flips her over and she's looking at her, and Nacy is unresponsive and she's foaming at the mouth. Now, they're in a part of the world where healthcare was not top-notch, not even close. And Honduras is known for being an extremely religious part of the world. And so Maria did not think, oh, I should send my daughter to the hospital or I should call a doctor.
He's going to send her thoughts and prayers, isn't she?
Instead, Maria and the rest of Nacy's family, who had all streamed outside because of the commotion, they decided to call a priest to perform an exorcism because the belief was Nacy must be possessed with demons.
Man, that sucks. Fuck. Man, that would... Oh, dude, that would suck to like, live like that and believe that...
And so a priest was hailed to the residence, and the priest would perform an exorcism on Nacy, but it wouldn't do anything. And so at that point, Maria and the rest of Nacy's family would take Nacy, who was still totally unresponsive and foaming, to the local hospital. But by that point, it was too late. Nacy was dead. When Nacy's family asked the doctors what happened to her, they said they didn't know. And so, heartbroken and confused, Maria and the rest of Nacy's family brought Nacy back home. They had an ad hoc memorial service, and then they buried her. The following day, Nacy's husband, Rudy, who was totally distraught because he has not only lost his wife, he's also lost his unborn child. He got up early and he just had to go to the cemetery to be with his wife. And so he made his way over to the local cemetery and he found his wife's gravesite. Nacy had not been buried under the earth. Instead, she had been placed into a coffin, and that coffin had been slid into this big hollowed out cement block that was as big as a coffin. And then once the coffin was slid inside, they walled up the opening. So basically her gravesite was this kind of freestanding big cement block. And so Rudy finds Nacy's cement block, and he goes up right next to it, and he leans up against it, and he begins to quietly sob. But just seconds later, he would hear something in that cemetery.
She's alive. Is she alive?
That would cause him to go completely silent, stand up, and sprint away. The day before, approximately 1 or 2 hours
Blob,
after
thank you
Nacy's
so much for
coffin
becoming a member.
was slid inside of that cement tomb and walled up, Nacy woke up. She was never dead. It's unclear what originally caused Nacy to collapse outside of her house.
Dude, that would be fucking terrifying. Oh my God. You pass out, you wake up, and you're in a concrete fucking thing. Oh my God, why can't I think of it? Oh my God. What's the word? Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Coffin. Okay, you got it. Coffin.
on the way to the outhouse, but the two leading theories are, one, she had a severe panic attack caused by a nearby gunshot, or two, she had a severe episode of cataplexy. Cataplexy is the sudden, uncontrollable loss of muscle function, often brought on by very strong emotions. A mild case could be just having your knees buckle for a second. A severe case, which is what they believe could have happened to Nacy, would result in basically complete paralysis. But whatever the case was, the doctors at the hospital got it wrong. When Nacy was brought to them...
Dude, she's gonna die again, right? Because that's what the title is. You know, she comes back to life, and then they bring her to the hospital, and then she actually dies. Is that what's going to happen?
Dead. And so when she woke up inside of her coffin that was encased in cement, she began shrieking and trying to pound up against the inside of these tight walls that were pressed up against her. And at some point, she even managed to force her hands up near her head, and she shattered the glass window that sat in her coffin that looked right down at her face. She broke the glass, but it didn't help her at all because, again, it's just cement on the other side. And so glass shards fell into her mouth and into her eyes. And so she stayed like that, screaming and trying to fight her way out for over 24 hours, trying to get anybody's attention. But nobody heard her. Until her husband, Rudy, he leaned up against her tomb and he put his ear right up against the cement and began to cry. And that's when he heard, through the cement, the sound of his wife calling out for help. Rudy instantly ran and got help, and he and his family came back, and they broke open the side of this tomb, and they pulled Nacy's coffin out, and even though she was now unresponsive, she had a faint heartbeat. And so they rushed her to the hospital, but by the time she got there, she really had died. Nacy...
Wow, oh my God, she actually died of, oh, dude, that's so fucked up.
Had finally just run out of oxygen, likely within minutes of her husband finally hearing her screams.
Dude, I cannot imagine being her husband in that situation. Oh my God. I cannot imagine being her husband. Wow.
So that's going to do it. If you got something out of today's episode and you haven't done this already, please invite the like button to come to the zoo with you and then cover them in honey.
Video, MrBallen. I will do it for you. Chat, go like MrBallen's video.
Now it's time to walk away. I hope you enjoyed your stay. Did you laugh or cry or maybe subscribed? I'll thank you either way. You know I will miss you. I hope you return. Tell your friend or your mother to get me more views, please.